Hey people, we're back live here. The first live stream of the year. Let me wait a second until I hear the audio come in. Just a second. There's a little bit of a delay here. Usually what happens. But I gotta make sure it's all fine. Hey people, we're back. Yes. Yeah, we're back here. Hey, first of all, happy 2022. 2024. Yeah, nice. Good that you're listening to another live stream. I will not make it too long today because it's basically an introduction video to the new year. And the new year, we're going to talk about Volvo. It's also one of my favorite brands nowadays. For those that don't know, I own a Volvo myself. Let's see if I also have this. Yes, I need to share this as well, otherwise it's not going to work. Great. So thanks for tuning in. So we are going to discuss Volvo, and when you talk about the brand Volvo, many things come to mind. You have the old school Volvos from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and you have the newer Volvos. And as you know, at the current state, Volvo was purchased by Geely, which is a very big car manufacturer from China. More than a decade ago, I believe. Don't hold me accountable for what date, but I think around 2015, 2014-ish, so close to 10 years ago. But the smart thing what the Chinese did is they basically let the design department and all of that in Europe, so they kind of appeal to the European market still, to the American market, also the Asian market, I'm sure. If you want something else in a German car, then a Swedish car is still very nice. Volvo also with their latest models are quite modern, quite a good alternative to the German 3. When I talk about German cars, we always talk about Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Audi, of course, maybe Volkswagen to a lesser degree. But a Volvo, in my opinion, is definitely more sophisticated than a Volkswagen. Yeah, that's my opinion. But let's go over some of the models that I can potentially review and some of the models that I have experience with. Okay, so let's do this. We select the brand Volvo. Yes, and more than 10,000 search results just in the Netherlands alone. But let's go to a car that I know. That's the 240, is it correct? Or the 340? Yeah, my uncle in the 90s used to have a Volvo like this. So these cars are from the 80s. They had four-cylinder engines, but rear-wheel driven, really small tanks. And yeah, if you want a cheap car that's reliable, then this is an alternative. But of course, this is like typical Volvo from the 80s. We can do a review on one of these. I think they had these kind of cars in the United States as well. Really old-fashioned, probably 3-speed automatic, but we'll see. You know, very basic, just a clock and a speedometer, and here the fuel gauge and the temperature gauge, and that's it. Oh, but it did have some damage here, which causes some rust. If it would not be damaged, then it probably wouldn't be rusting. But let's see. So it's a 4-cylinder with not even 70 horsepower. It's an automatic. Oh, it's a manual. Is it? Let me go back real quick. It's an automatic. Come on. Anyway, and I'm sure it's a 3-speed or something. So this is the 340. Kind of ugly. Here is all from the 80s, and this is the first generation. This is already like the second one. Not very appealing, but maybe you're interested in it. I can do some research, make a video about it. Let's move on real quickly because we're not going to make this live stream too long. We have the 460. That is a car that one of my teachers used to have when I was in primary school. Yeah, back then this was basically the mid-size car from Volvo. If you didn't want to have a station wagon, what they use, yeah, what you usually buy basically when you want a practical Volvo. These were produced in the province that I'm from, at the car plant there, so also kind of have that connection. So the 460, you see there's not many of them left. 94. It's an old car. It's 30 years old, guys. Moving on. The 740. All right. I believe, yeah. This is when you think about Volvo. I mean, this is the car, right? I mean, old school bricks, Volvos. Let's see what year is this? Also from the 80s. I mean, like an old school Volvo enthusiast thinks about cars like this, and look how nice it still looks on the outside. Maybe it's a polished third, maybe it's not. We don't know, but it looks all right. I mean, it looks like somebody took proper care of it. Not too bad. Yeah, you see how basic it is. Almost 270,000 kilometers on the clock, which is not a lot for these cars. They're, I wouldn't say indestructible, but if you take care of them with from time to time, they would just keep on running. Yeah, really old school, really old school. And this is an old car. This is, yeah, I mean, 86. I mean, crazy. Almost 38 years old, right? Almost. Well, let's see. So this is the 740. For those who are interested, let's move on a bit more. Then you have the 9 series. No, wait, I cannot skip the 850. That's also a typical car from the 90s that you know, Volvo further expanded their brand by building reliable and very practical station wagons. This particular car already has driven 500,000 kilometers, which is crazy, and they still ask, well, they ask less than 2,000 euros for it. Don't expect to buy, yeah, there will be something there that will break on you, but maybe with a couple of, you know, new fresh parts, you can fix a car like this. Doesn't look too bad for the money, but potentially there's some work there. And I see these cars with 800,000-900,000 kilometers. Of course, then you still need to invest money in the car, but hey, this is not a lot. This is a lot of car for the money still up until this day. And it has a 2.5 5-cylinder 20 valve. I mean, it makes a nice sound. It's really reliable when taken care of. And I think if you're a Volvo enthusiast and you need lots of room, you can buy something like this. I would recommend something like this. Here they built a liquid petroleum gas tank in it as well, so you get that for free basically. So you see the difference here. Basically the same engine, half the kilometers, and just only a little bit more expensive. Is this the estate? I don't know. Maybe this looks like the sedan more. Yeah, this is also this is the sedan. I like the estate a bit better, but you know, 97. So this is a later model. Nothing wrong with this. I mean, this is from 97, the first year, 30,000 kilometers driven. Now a little bit more. So each year when the car is inspected, they write down the kilometers and they put it in a national database, giving you some kind of an insurance that the kilometers that are on the clock are actually the real kilometers. 97, they already had ECU, so I think when you have the software and the equipment, you can also check if this is correct or not. So you can do a little bit of a research, and trust me, when it comes to Volvo, just like Mercedes-Benz and BMW, there's a big fan club all around the world. There are forums there are lots of information to find online. So it is also a nice project car, right? I mean, you save up some money, even if you're 16 or 17, and you know, getting your driving license will only take a few years more. You can already buy a car like this and work on it while you're still learning to drive, basically. Um, yeah, you could do that. And if you have a farm and you know you don't drive on the public road, then you can already enjoy it for a bit before taking it onto the streets. I'm just saying, like these are the typical cars that people that live on farms buy and work on, because these are still quite easy to work on. They're not all computer based. They're still quite analog, which is a good thing. Um, moving on. So this is the 850. The 900 series is also styling wise a car that I really appreciate. These are old school Volvos, all of them. Man, I still see these driving around to this day. Not too many, but you still see them driving around on Dutch roads and European roads up until this day. These are tanks. Like almost indestructible. Doesn't mean that you don't need to do anything to them. Of course, they need proper maintenance, cleaning the filters, getting new oil. Um, they need long motorway journeys from time to time to everything heating up and everything being cleared, you know. But they're basically built like a tank. I think this is a 2.3 four-cylinder, also a Volvo engine with a long track record, and that's very reliable. Yeah, I mean, it's great, fantastic. Let's see. Also here with a G3 LPG, and this one has close to 600,000 kilometers driven. So you see the um, potency. You see the how you say. Yeah, you see the potential that this engine has basically. Because when you have a liquid petroleum gas installation on a on a petrol engine, then you need to do certain things to make sure that the engine survives. Because with gas, the temperature in the engine is way higher. But still, even then, they survive. But you need to take precautionary measures. If you find that interesting, I can do a little bit of research again and also talk about that and explain it to you if you are interested. Moving on. So this is a nice 900 series. Then you have the 960. I think that was a six-cylinder. Volvos also have quite a lot of six-cylinder. So this is probably the 3 liter from 95. So a later model, the facelift already. Let's see. Yeah, this is astronomical. 463,000 kilometers. Is a six-cylinder, a 3 liter. Let's look at the power output. Do we see that already? Not yet, but it was imported. And 200 kilometers from a 204 horsepower from a 3 liter six-cylinder. That's not much. You know that's not much. It's a big engine when it comes to displacement for European standards, and they also don't squeeze out that much horsepower, which makes sure that the engine is not overstressed. That's why it's that's why it's running for so long. Moving on, moving on. So these are all the old school Volvos out there, and the Amazon, and these are even older. Just for the sake of showing you. So there's also a whole Amazon club here in the Netherlands and in Europe. Like these are really old school. So these are from the 60s, and even these kind of cars you still see driving around on the road. But these are usually project cars, you know. There's a video on YouTube of I think of an owner, maybe even first owner, that drove 2 million kilometers with a car like this. It's ridiculous. You know, it's a whole story out there, and yeah, Volvo people just love that, how durable the engines are and how far they can go. Maybe they're not as sufficient as other brands, but it's the longevity that really, speaks to a lot of people's enthusiasts. So moving on. So that was the Amazon, and then we move into the C30, C70, which is a convertible, and that's basically the same. The C30 is a small coupe. No, it's not a. Yeah, is it a coupe? Yeah, it is a coupe. The C70 is the convertible. You have the S40, which I own, is the sedan. Then you have the V50, which is the estate. So now we enter like the early 2000s, basically. This is the first generation. So they claim this is a T5. Yeah, let's see. So this was the first generation. Looks American somehow. Maybe it's imported, is it? No, it wasn't. Okay. Maybe it did something with the headlights. Yeah, you see this is old and it's been used, but still I think it has a 5-cylinder. Let me check. Discs. Okay. Yeah, this is really old school. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a 5-cylinder, 20 valve, producing 241 horsepower, which is nice. And the car doesn't weigh that much, I suppose. Well, yeah, not that much. So I think this is quite nice, quite peppy. This is the old school Volvo 5-cylinder that made them famous, basically. And in the early 2000s, the continuation of this engine came, because this was I think designed in the late 80s and came onto the market in the early 90s. And through the whole 90s, this was like, I think, the main engine for Volvo, together with the diesel 5-cylinder. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, they came with the second generation, until they stopped completely with 5-cylinders. So let's see, this is 2000. This is still the first generation. Let's see if we get the second one. Here we're 2007 with a D5, so that's the diesel. And this is basically the same platform that my S40 drives on. Maybe some tweaks in the suspension, but this is a nice looking convertible, really. But they're always a bit pricey. Yeah, this is the same cockpit layout that I have in my S40. Nothing wrong with it here. The back seats are pretty much non-existent, but look at the damage here. And look at the damage here. I can also see that a bit in my chair. So, yeah. Identical here. Ooh. It looks used. It looks very used. Yeah. That's why it's probably so cheap, but it's a lot of kilometers for a convertible. But it's a diesel nonetheless, so the engine should be quite bulletproof, actually. There's nothing wrong with that. But I always find it interesting how you put a diesel in a convertible. I think that's a little bit strange. But anyway. The 2.4T, so it's a turbo motor as well. But this is still the first generation. But so this is the convertible, right? So we move on. We talked about the S40 real quick. That's a car that I own. That's it's a sedan of what you just saw. So just for the information, I already made plenty of videos about the S40. They're all on my channel here, and I reviewed my own car. I did a buying review. So that one is already out there. So this is basically an S40. They also been delivered in North America. Europe, of course. I don't know about Asia, but this is an S40. Yeah, mine has 185,000 kilometers at the moment, and I own it for 6 years already. So I don't drive that much with it, but yeah, I still like it. I also have the 2.4 5-cylinder. It's quite a good engine, and I enjoy it every day. Then we have the S60, which is a bit older when it comes to the introduction. It's a little bit bigger than the S40. The S40 came onto the market in 2004, and this one came onto the market in 2000. So this was before the S40. And yeah, this needed to compete with the likes of Audi A4, 3 Series, C-Class, I believe. Although it looks a bit bigger. But Volvo back then didn't. Yeah, they mostly they were coming off the 90s, the 80s and 90s, moving into the 2000s, and they need more models to fit in little niches. And this was when you had this in with a D3 or D4. This was the ultimate car that for people that drove lots of kilometers. It's a very comfortable cruiser, and the diesel engines were quite reliable. Also here the 2.4, which means it's a gasoline or petrol 5-cylinder. Yeah, here 2 tons almost in kilometers, and they don't ask much for it. But it's definitely not cheap to keep them running. But in the long run, they might be cheaper than a small car, which is funny, of course. All right, so this is the S60. I think they had that in America as well. The S80 is basically the top of the line at this point. For this era, I should say, because later on it became the S90. So let's see, you had them with the 5-cylinder, the 2.4, but you also had a 2.9 V6 or 6 inline, one of the two. But at least a 6-cylinder, you had them. Yeah, this is the third gen. You have multiple generations, but this one is one of the oldest. And that was their limousine, their luxury limousine. Oh, they made this very nice picture here in front of this cheap gas station. I believe it's Russian as well. Anyway, let's see. Specification. So a 3-liter, and it's a 6-cylinder. They don't say if it's inline or a V6. Producing almost 200 horsepower. So it's not much, but it's probably heavy on torque. You also had them with turbo engines. You had them as a T6, as a T8 even. I think now when I think about it, maybe they even have an 8-cylinder that they put in this car. I know from the second generation at least they had the 8-cylinder from Yamaha in there. The same as in the XC90. Here, those second generation. That's a big upgrade, I think, styling wise. But that's always, yeah, to the eye of the beholder. But you see, these cars have been used heavily. The mileage on here is probably real. Oh, it was a cab. Yeah, you don't want this. This car had a heavy life. Okay, so this 5-cylinder, and is it a diesel or not? It must be. It's a petrol. I don't get that. That's really strange. Usually they drive diesels. Here is a Tesla TCS. That's probably Amsterdam area. No, guys, don't do that. Save yourself a headache. Don't do that. Let's see. This is a T6, which is also okay. Yeah. Maybe the S80 second generation will be a good car to start off when it comes to buying review. But please let me know in the comments. I don't see any comments yet, but that's all right. See. Get somebody viewing. Yeah. Nice. Let's move on. Duvet PV S60 cross country, the V40. Yeah, this is probably European market only. Oh no, the V40. Wait. Not this model, but this model. Yeah, there was a time 10 years ago that you saw these driving around a lot, and with the D2 engine, which was basically a French diesel, lots of people that drive lots of miles for their work, consultants and whatever, they drove this car. This was really a car that was very popular among those people, but now they are, yeah, it's getting less and less. But 10 years ago, with a D2 engine and R-line package, then you were the shit, so to speak. Don't know if they are delivered outside of Europe also, in America or something. I don't know too much about that. But that's the V40. Let's see what else we got. So S90 is the top of the line, what they have to offer from Volvo nowadays. T8 nowadays is a hybrid, so they only have 4 cylinders with a hybrid. 4 cylinders is the highest capacity petrol engine that you can buy from Volvo, even when you're in top of the line. But they all do that to comply with emissions, of course. Yeah, this is a very good looking modern day Volvo. I mean, yeah, I really appreciate this. When it came out, I was amazed, and to this day, I still really like it. I prefer it than, yeah, sometimes an A6, even 5 Series. I mean, it's just something, I don't know, something special, something different. And I think that's important as well. And the seats are great, and yeah, it's just different. You know, in a world where everybody has a 5 Series or an E Class, then this is a breath of fresh air, basically. So I appreciate that. Beautiful car. Might might want to do a buying review on this as well. What I always do is I go to the top of the line cars and then work my way down, because people always want to know about the most expensive, also especially when the years go by, to see if it's worth to buy and what to look out for. So I might take that approach when it comes to Volvo as well. Okay, let's see what else we got. The cross country is the estate version, but then a little bit tougher. I'm not sure if you can drive in the terrain with this, but it looks like it. This is probably also a hybrid petrol car. Can we open this? Can we? No? I'll pick another one. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this is nonsense. Sorry, these links didn't work. Hopefully this works. This is also... Why doesn't it work? This one? This one? This one? So this is a cross country. Yeah, you see it's a little bit higher on its wheels, and apparently you can drive through the mud in style, right? Which doesn't make sense in the Netherlands, but it might make sense in Scandinavia or maybe Eastern Europe, where the roads are a bit rougher and not no smooth tarmac everywhere. So yeah, a car like this grows on me. It really does. It is a nice car. Okay, moving on. These are all modern Volvos, as you can see by the age, how old they are. Um, yeah, the XC90. They got 1,000 of them here in the Netherlands, which is a lot. This is the SUV. This is the latest generation. I'm sure it's also delivered in the United States because they love SUVs. In China because they need to compensate, and it is what it is. Look at this. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic looking car. I mean, I take this over an X5 any type of the day, maybe even an ML. Styling wise, Volvo is really on point last couple of years. I mean, you gotta hand it to them. They really make beautiful cars. Where the Germans become a bit vulgar over the years, I think Volvo really maintained certain class, and that's a big compliment. Let's see. Let's go from low to high. Um, yeah. So you buy yourself a 2006 D5 diesel, indestructible engine, but already has 500,000 kilometers on the clock. You buy it for less than 4K. This is the first generation that came onto the market, I believe 2002, 2003 ish. Um, I don't know. I never found them very beautiful. I don't like these lights, and it looks a bit. Yeah, I don't know. But the owners love them. But they were not very reliable. And also, I don't think they really age well. These kind of cars can be lots of trouble, but when they do work, I'm sure you enjoy it. Um, and this car was quite a successful for Volvo. They also started in the SUV market a bit later, just like Audi was even later, but I think it was in '89, so in the late '90s when BMW was coming out with the X5 and Mercedes had the ML. So yeah, great cars. Yeah, you see the wear and tear here, but what do you expect? I mean, 500,000 kilometers. I'm sure you can still drive one or two, uh, but you never know what you're gonna end up with. In general, the 2.4 G5 is a very bulletproof engine. This is all aftermarket. Yeah. What are you buying yourself, huh? So 185 horsepower, yeah. That's the XC90. Let's see if we have one more. Then we can close off this stream. Anything I missed? The 440, no. Oh yeah, this 7 with the 480. Yeah, this one. I remember when this came out in the 90s, I was yeah, I always knew I wanted a car like this when I grew up. Back then they were quite expensive. This as a first car, but this is 95. They were also produced in the same plant that they put the 440 together and the 340 and the 360. So really 80s, 90s Volvos. They were produced in the Netherlands, believe it or not, and this one was as well. Yeah, it has a certain charm. Will it be a classic one day? I think so, but only for Volvo enthusiasts, because the rest will, yeah, they will not bat an eye twice. They will not. You also have this with a fully digitalized dashboard. Also, yeah, it is all a bit 80s and 90s, right? But oh, here, this is digital. You see, but you also have one with a fully digitalized dashboard. No, the seats look good. Voltage on the battery, oil pressure, average speed, average fuel consumption. Oh, this is so 90s. This reminds me of those Golf 2 Manhattan. Oh, this is all in Dutch. Woerden, Houdenberg, Hogeveen, Hogeveen. Oh, this bounced around owners, I think. Yeah, Hogeveen. You should get a car like this from an enthusiast that hold on to it. Let's see. Prices go up. 92. Yeah, here complete history. Then you pay close to 9K for it. 91. Yeah, this one looks quite pretty. Let's just make this the last one review. Well, not even 100,000 kilometers, if that's correct, but they say they have a complete history for this car. Not sure if that's correct, but hey, it looks funny, right? It looks like a looks like a budget Porsche, right? Interior looks nice. I mean, for the time, of course. ES, I'm not sure if that's a special run-out model, but this is 91. They still made it until 95, 96-ish. Two separate captain chairs in the back, which is quite funny for such a small car. And we had the four-cylinder fuel injection, electronic fuel injection. Wow. Yeah, the ECU. But it does look pretty modern here. Here the dynamo, oil filter. I think cars like this you can still kind of work on yourself if you know what you're doing, which could bring potentially the cost down. But this is not a lot of kilometers, and I'm sure it's fun to drive. It's not a sports car, but it's just something. Yeah, I don't know what Volvo was thinking these days because they were so obsessed by creating safe cars and practical cars, and all of a sudden they start making this, which is funny. It's just maybe a Volvo joke, you know. Anyway, guys, you get the point. There are lots of models out there. I mean, I reviewed a few Volvos already on my channel, and I can go, you know, the S80 second generation, the S60 I can do, the S40 I already covered. I can go back to the first generation S40. I can do that. I can have the 480 here, the 340, the 360. If you want, please let me know which car I should start on, and otherwise I probably pick the S80, and then work from, you know, top of the food chain to go down. So that's what 2024 will look like. Hopefully next time I'm a bit better. I'm still quite sick actually, but you know that will be solved soon. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you had a great New Year's Eve. And yeah, let's make something beautiful of this year. Thanks for watching, and we see you in the next one.